In Chapter 2, we left off at our new church built by Henry Eccles in 1809. That was Mount Pleasant Methodist Episcopal, now the chapel at Tanglewood, and it was our church home beginning in 1809. Close to the Yadkin River, Mount Pleasant was the perfect spot for camp meetings. Families and friends pitched tents for days at a time to enjoy preaching, vesper services, and singing that occurred morning, noon, and night. Over time, however, families wanted to worship closer to the growing town of Clemmonsville, as the transportation of the day was still by horse and buggy. The congregation at Mount Pleasant slowly began to dwindle. No longer a part of Rowan County and now a part of Davidson County, Mount Pleasant seemed further and farther away from the center of things. While the exact date is not clear, records indicate that members from Mount Pleasant began meeting in the town of Clemmonsville around 1830. The records suggest we met 2 doors down from our current location in the newly built Clemmonsville Academy. It was built and owned by Benton Clemmons, and the building operated as a store and a school. As you can see from this overlay, the academy was in front of Peter Clemmons' house that still stands today. The large wood frame store and school was used by our congregation, as both the store and school were closed on Sundays. The only thing left of Clemmonsville Academy today are the foundation stones on the right front corner of the property, only a few feet from Highway 158 and less than 100 feet from our current property. Once the school was operational, Benton Clemmons sold the property and academy to the trustees of the academy in 1834 for $1. During the decades that we met at the school or in the homes of area society members, a man named Peter Daub was an early circuit rider and preached to the Clemmonsville Society on several occasions. He would later become a professor of biblical literature at Trinity College, which is now Duke University. Daub's Chapel in Pofftown is named for him. Now, Peter's brother Michael Daub was also a minister, and he served our circuit in 1851 and again in 1854. It is during this period that we can begin to see the faces of different ministers and circuit riders that served our congregation. Solomon Helzebeck served our community 5 different times, beginning in 1855. Helzebeck was a farmer from Germantown that kept detailed journals and membership rolls from his time as a circuit rider. In his journals, he described the difficult life of a farmer, circuit rider, and his wife's illnesses. She apparently had a headache every time he came home. In 1839, Benton Clemmons sold land to the Clemmonsville Society of the Methodist Episcopal Church for $1. The deed recorded named several early settler families as trustees. The names included Henry Eccles, who built Mount Pleasant, the Douthits, McIvers, Blackburns, Chaffins, and Klaus families. The sale of this land, along with the gift of property nearby in 1856 from a church member, gave the Clemmonsville Society hope that a building of their own would be in their not-so-distant future. But unfortunately, troubling times were ahead, and no building would be erected for many years. Always a product of practicing a methodical way of clean living, a wave of social cleansing took hold in the Methodist Episcopal Church throughout the country and occurred in other denominations as well. It was the minister's responsibility to issue tickets to members in good standing. Tickets were required for entry into church meetings and worship services. Those that wished to stay in good standing had to follow certain rules and abstain from certain activities.
Members in good standing must not indulge in the evils of usury, profanity, drinking spirituous drink, buying and selling slaves, fighting, tax evasion, speaking evil of others, putting on gold, singing or reading poor literature, and other sins as determined by the leadership of the church.
Preachers would quiz the membership at every gathering to assess each person's soul. Members were subjected to a trial and ejected from the society on a fairly regular basis. Even a wealthy church member who had given land for the new church was expelled. In his diary, Helzebeck wrote,
"Gloomy weather today, and a gloomy time. My old friend and brother was expelled from the church today. God help him and his."
In addition to the troubles caused by the ongoing house cleaning of members that were deemed unfit, the Methodist Episcopal Church split in 1844 over the issue of slavery and the power of bishops. The Clemmonsville Methodist Episcopal Church would become Clemmonsville Methodist Episcopal Church South to denote its regional designation. It was a split that would last 93 years. North Carolina's involvement in the Civil War would delay the building of a church for even longer. While officially, North Carolina became a Confederate state in 1861, North Carolina communities would support both the Union and the Confederacy. Many from the Clemmonsville area would enlist in the war, but with the exception of a minor skirmish at Shallowford, a mile or so up the Yadkin River, the area of Clemmonsville was largely spared. On December 4, 1865, North Carolina ratified the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution abolishing slavery. Reconstruction would occupy most of the South for many years to come. It would be another 9 years before our new home at 3700 Clemmons Road would be built.